Don't look back. Something might be gaining on you. Oh my goodness. It's Monday in a new studio. I got some fun for you. Let's go.
Preview.
Todd is not only a remarkable, successful 30-year titan in business with having multiple businesses that generate multiplied millions of dollars.
And if that plan happens to be to build $1 million company, which I can help you do.
But he's humble. He's a man of God. He's a family man. The world's news organizations are built on everything but positivity.
He is an influential entrepreneur and business speaker for over 30 years.
I've got to forecast. I've got to pronounce. I've got to project. I've got to share with you my ideas, my vision, my goals for not only myself, but for you.
That's why he's came up with his incredible concept of taking and creating a platform for people that are wired differently.
And you got to understand that your habits of your person and your habits of your business and your habits of your spirituality have to lead to the North Star of who you are. We need to figure out who we want to be in life.
Well, good morning, everybody. Good day, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. You know, I always got to say good morning, good day, good evening, whatever it is, because we're so fortunate to have so many people across the country actually watching the show. And primarily it's 7:30 Eastern time. I think the bulk of my followers or listeners are on, and I just got to tell you how excited I am today. I know it's a Monday, but I'm in my new studio. I'm super excited. Now, it's not a new studio. It's actually a studio that's inside the studio I already had. See, I have a guest staying area, bathroom area, like really cool place for guests to stay at, where there's a bed and whatnot. And I moved all of my studio equipment into that area, cleaned it out, created all this new storage, and then cleaned out the studio that now is my actual studio office. So, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, but to think about the calmness of what I had this morning was amazing. So I have an actual, just a quiet place where, you know, it's not so incumbent for dogs or some type of child, which I do adore all of them. And I do want them to kind of storm in every now and then, but not so much. But today, you know, I've taken on a new attitude. Not a bad attitude, but more of a new casual attitude. I feel really good about what I'm doing. I've got a lot of great opportunities coming my way. And I want to talk to you about you and your opportunities, about what you've got coming your way. And I want to talk to you about this idea of moving forward. So let me tell you about a few things that are going on in my life. Like I just told you, the office thing is moving, and I'm in it, and I feel great. I wish you know what? I'll take pictures tonight, and then I'll post them on the Facebook, and then I'll have them on the show tomorrow, and I'll show you because I showed you the old office Friday because I knew I was going to be switching, so I'll show you the new office. But so what's going on is I have this opportunity, and I'm going to be guest hosting on Salem Media Drive Time Hour from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. all next week, other than Christmas. So Christmas is Christmas. And then the very next day, the 26th, which is a Tuesday, I will be driving to Tampa to Salem Media. I'm so excited. I love those people over there. As you know, I've traveled all over the country with Sebastian and Mike Gallagher and Dennis Prager and Charlie Kirk and Brandon Tatum. And these guys are, you know, they're legends as far as I'm concerned in talk show, conservative Christian radio. And now I've been invited to actually host my own show, not my show, but a show from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And I'm super excited to do that. So that's going to be all next week, and I'm going to be doing it, and I'm going to have a lot of good times here, and we're going to be sharing that with you. So next week, I don't know if I'm going to be actually doing the morning show and then the afternoon show. I may be doing the morning show to prep for the afternoon show, but I want to thank Bill for allowing me to take his show and take 4 days and give him some rest on all of that, and so he can have some rest and R&R for this. So I'm so excited about this. So I'll be in Tampa. I'll be doing that, and I'm going to have special guest stars on that show, and it's going to be amazing, amazing, amazing. Bill Bunkley's Drive Time show. He doesn't call it the Drive Time show anymore. It's a faith-based 3 hours of show and politics and things of that nature. So I'm really going to get all the news out to you. You're going to start seeing some of the ads for me replacing filling in for Bill Bunkley for 4 days. He's given me the privilege to do that, and so I'm certainly excited about that. So watch the Facebook for those times and the news and the guests and all it's going to be. And I want you to be praying for me because I love this idea of being on the radio. I love this idea of, possibly doing more of it. And so we'll just be praying for me on that. I don't know that I've ever really asked you to pray for me. Does anybody know that? I don't think I've ever asked you to pray for me. Well, I just did it. Pray for wisdom. Pray for opportunity for me. Pray for right decisions, and that over time they have asked me to do a show on that radio station and that network, and it's a large time commitment, but it would further a lot of things that I'm wanting to do in this Wired Differently ministry, mindset, mission, right, and movement. So this morning, don't look back. Do not look back. That's the title of the show this morning. And I wanted to talk to you about the idea of not looking back. And what encouraged me on this was our verse of the day was the Lord is my strength. Psalms 28:7. The Lord is my strength and my shield. I want to get that right. The Lord is my strength and my shield. My heart trusted him, so I received help. My heart is triumphant. I give thanks to him with song. I paraphrase it as the Lord is my strength and my shield. I give thanks to him with my song. Now, the reason I'm thinking about this Psalms, because the Psalms is what came up this morning, and I started thinking about strength. I started thinking about my shield and all that, and just started thinking about how God works in my life, how God works in your life, and how God gave us in Psalms. David wrote this actual Psalms. And he was actually giving praise with this Psalms. He had prayed that God would deliver him from some mayhem of some sort. He's just always in some type of trouble. Aren't we all? Aren't we all? Thank you, David. And after he had just been praying to get him out of some gunk or some mud or some drama, God delivered him. And then he said, the Lord, you are my strength and my shield. I give thanks to you with my song. And so as I wanted to open up this before I don't look back, and we start thinking about what David went through, and I'm going to talk to you about Satchel Paige, amazing athlete of the days gone by. But I started looking, well, what is the song I would sing, right? What would you sing, right? Like if God called you, and I'm reading it to you right here, the Lord is my strength, Psalms 28:7. David is worshiping God right here, saying, oh God, you are my strength and you are my shield. I trusted you, right? I gave thanks to you now with my song. And so David rips off a song. So I think, well, I'm going to pull up my song list. And I would challenge you to do this too. So like if David had, an iPod or an iPad or a song player or some MP3 player back in the day, I'm wondering what the songs were that he pulled out in his playlist, right? So, all right, whatever you're doing right now, pull out your playlist. You can play along if you don't want. I don't know. I'm just on the radio. I'm going to be on the radio. Right? December 26, 27, 28, 29, Salem media all over the Florida regional market, some 85,000 listeners. I can't wait for you guys to be on there with me, listening, calling in. There's call-ins. There's all kind of fun stuff we're going to be doing, but I just want you to be praying that goes well for me and any type of future that I have in that arena. I'd like to understand what God wants for me in that. So here's my playlist. I'm going to show it to you real quick. The history, so I don't get busted here. So here is my history of playlists. And so I thought I would kind of show you. So, all right, I'm calling myself out here. You ready? So there is, I haven't even looked yet. So my victory, passion, same God, take me to church. That's Hosier. Hallelujah. Jeff, everyone, if you were at the Tiki retreat, you know how much I love that song. Gratitude, Brandon Lake. Trust in God, big God. Fear is not my future. Searching. Come on. Look at all these hallelujah a lot. Let's keep going. We have any secular songs on here? No, we do somewhere. There we go. Oops. Hosier, come with me now. This is a good one. Come with me now. This is Congo. I can't even help it. So what is your playlist? I mean, look, so David was called, right? So David was called, the Lord is my strength and my shield. He says, the Lord plays offense for me and he plays defense for me. And he says, I trusted him. He says, so I give thanks to him and my song. And so I'm like thinking, what is my song for the Lord? That was the Congos. I got a lot of them on here. I got a lot of them on here. Secular, I got Christian. But I want you to think about what your song is for the Lord. That's part one of this conversation today. That's part one. That's your homework. If any of you know, I'm coaching you guys out there and you're listening, you know, I always give you homework. So today, right now, this is a tough one. Just get in your history and, you know, look at it and see what song in there represents me. What song in there am I talking to God? Look, matter of fact, just do a little inventory on your song list there and just see, what am I listening to, right? Right. So don't look back. Don't look back. You got the song it talks to you about a little bit. It gives you Psalms 28:7. And I want to dive into don't look back. I want to understand this idea of don't look back. And so the idea came from a quote I heard from a Major League Baseball player by the name of Satchel Paige. Now, listen, I think this really – literally, he played his last game in 1965, which was the year I was born. How many of you heard of Satchel Paige? I mean, I don't know. Maybe none of you. I don't know. I don't know how old you are. Hope you have a little bit because he's more than a baseball player. He was iconic in many ways in the black race, in the civil rights movement, in this whole idea of equality and things going on in the world the way they are at the time. And so I just want to share a little quick update on Satchel Paige, and then we're going to talk about the quote, don't look back. Something may be gaining on you. And we're going to tie that into your spiritual growth, your personal growth, and of course, your profitable growth. This is just a quick little short I found on Satchel Paige. I thought, man,
Paige dominated the MLB at 59 years old, and it's the most underdiscussed story in baseball history. In 1965, it had been 12 years since the last time Paige played in the MLB. He started his professional career in 1926, and because of the racial barrier, he wasn't allowed to play in the MLB until 1948 when he was 42 years old. Even though he was past his prime when he came to the MLB, he was still a multiple-time All-Star, and he won the World Series with Cleveland. In 1953, at 46 years old, it looked like his career in the pros was over, but that was far from the case. In 1965, Charlie Finley, the owner of the Kansas City Athletics, was trying to find a way to get more fans to come to games. They had the lowest attendance in the MLB, and it was so bad that on September 23rd, only 690 fans came to the game. So on September 25th of that year, Finley paid Satchel Paige $3,500 to pitch 3 innings against the Red Sox. He only gave up 1 hit in those 3 innings, and nobody scored a run. This is him sitting on a rocking chair in the bullpen before the game, and a nurse was massaging his throwing arm. Satchel Paige dominated the MLB at 59 years old, and it's the most underdiscussed story in baseball history. In 1965, it had been 12 years since the last time Paige played in the MLB. He started his professional career in 1926, and because of the racial barrier,
think about that for a moment. Think about Satchel Paige. So I wanted you to know a little bit of history on Satchel Paige because he was such a remarkable individual. He did so many things, and he was famous for not only playing baseball, but he became more famous, I think, in life and in time for his endurance, and he became more famous in life for his accomplishments, I think, in the civil rights movement. he became more famous, I think, or more well known for his ability to actually witness this idea of life and this endurance and this. And I don't know if he was a Christian. I just don't know these things. But I would tell you this. He was amazing. And the reason I wanted to kind of give you a background on him is because he gave us this quote: don't look back, something may be gaining on you. And I think in this time of the season, I want you to understand that we are called really not to look back. We're to look back at things like the birth of Christ, but the birth of Christ literally is today. He is with us yesterday, today, and forever, right? And I just want you to understand that when we talk about this week, when we talk about don't look back, I'm going to give you 4 topics of reasons of why not to look back, why things are to be forward thinking for us. So when Satchel Paige, we talk about him, I'm like, the quote came to me, and so then I wanted to talk about him. And then I started spending so much time on the fact that this man played baseball for 5 decades. I don't know if you caught that video. We had a little bit of a glitch there, but that video was amazing because it quickly told us this idea of his endurance. It quickly told us of this idea of having to fight his way through this civil rights era. He literally played, listen, he was born in July 7th, 1906, and died in 1982, right? He was 75 years old when he died. He batted and threw right-handed. He was 6'4", weighed about 180 pounds. He played 5 decades, right? 50 years in baseball. He played in the Negro League from 1927 to 1948. Many of us don't even know there was really I had to be reminded that there was a Negro League because the Negroes couldn't play in the Major League Baseball League at all. They wouldn't let them play at all. So for 20 years, he played for the Black, he played for the Black Barons and some other Black League football or baseball players. But the Major Leagues, they finally brought him in as the first Black pitcher in the Major League Baseball in 1948 to 1953. Right? He played till he was 59 years old. Amazing. In 1965, he did. He came back and he pitched 3 innings, basically a no-hitter. And that's the image they showed him in a rocking chair having some fun with him. But I want you to know a little bit about the quote, because when I first heard the quote, it was like, don't look back, someone may be catching you. I thought, well, how would that fit? And then as I started to do the research on the man who said it, it became even more apparent why someone like that would say it. Because he came from an impoverished background. He came from a difficult upbringing in the Black culture, in the slave mentality, and all of the civil rights prodigies and products and processes and this segregation. And it was a very difficult time for a lot of people. But here's a man that just kept moving forward year after year after year after year. Kept moving forward year after year, baseball after baseball. I mean, if you look in, and he pitched 160 games in one season one year. He pitched several double hitters, never missed an inning. I mean, think about this in this day and age right now where baseball pitchers can't throw, they have a pitch count on them. I mean, this guy would hit his pitch count in like the first 3 games of the whole season, seems like this. So it's an amazing, amazing thing. But so I just want to put some framework or some context in this idea of not looking back and where this quote came from a man by the name of Satchel Paige. Satchel Paige. And so now I want to talk to you a little bit about your life and what it means to not look back. And so I thought I would talk a little bit about that for you and where you're going in your life and how you can apply a message like something that Satchel Paige would give us, not just the don't look back, but more the idea of, hey man, I have went through some adversity, but you know what? There's some people that's been in some really tough places and done some really more difficult things than I've had to. There's a lot going on out there in this world, right? And I wanted to share with you this idea. I got my new studio, so I'm learning all the ins and outs. This is my first live, and I've got stuff here. And so what I want to do is talk about don't look back And I've got some bullet points here that I really wanted to share with you, and I want to talk with you through this week on Don't Look Back. So the topics are going to basically be, one, don't look back. I have sins that have been forgiven. Number one, don't look back at defeats that get you down, and don't look back at past and see it better than it ever was, and don't look back at old conflicts that make you bitter, right? So today we're going to be talking about don't look back at sins that have been forgiven. Don't look back at sins that have been forgiven. And I'm going to need forgiveness for this new studio because I got stuff everywhere. I've got lights. I've got it's really amazing, but I'm out of my feng shui. But don't look back at sins that have been forgiven. So when you think about a guy like Satchel Paige, and you think about yourself, and you think about the whole commonality of the quote of "Don't look back, but keep moving forward," this man had to move forward every day because it was his life. He had to move forward every day because if he looked back, he was looking at the unfairness of the world. Literally, the unfairness of the world. This man threw 105-mile-an-hour fastball. That's as fast as anybody's throwing in the major leagues right now. Maybe even faster, for all I know. Someone can let me know in this comments here. But think about that. Playing for peanuts, playing for locker rent, playing for a meal, playing for a day's hotel fee, right? Playing for really no reason other than the love of the game of baseball. And I would tell you probably survival. But if you tend to look back in that scenario, you become bitter, you become curmudgeon, you can become difficult, you can become depressed, you can become defeated, right? And so I don't want you to look back at sins that have been forgiven. So the first thing I want to talk to you about are these 4 things I don't want you to look back at. Number 1 is sins that you are forgiven. I want you to understand that God has called us to move forward. And in Psalms 28:7, the Lord is my strength and my shield. I give thanks to him with my song. Those songs that you pull up, man, those songs that you pull up are your songs to God. So I want you to take that very seriously. The stuff you have in your playlist, those songs that you're singing to him for praise, because he will deliver you. God not only plays offense, but he plays defense for you, right? And I don't want us to be coming into this new year looking back at things at all, for that matter. I mean, there's constructive things. I want to go back to Luke, and I want to hear the birth of Jesus Christ and the signs that were given to us for all that in this Advent season. But really, Jesus is right now, right? Jesus is right now. We can look back at history and grow from it. But there's a lot of things I just don't want you dwelling on. I don't want you looking back at the past. I don't want you looking back, certainly, number 1, at sins that you have been forgiven for. And I do that, right? And so I want you to think about in your head right now, what are some things that you're dragging along with you right now? What are some things? I mean, there's a little bit of vibe, but different vibe to this show this morning, but I really feel compelled to talk to you like individually. I really think that you need some work. And the only reason I can say that is because I know I need some work. And I work on it, and I do, and I'm constantly, I think, in a state of flux where I'm trying to make everybody, a lot of people happy, try to figure out what the next stage of my life is, try to figure out who is going to be there with me, who's not going to be there with me. And I start to reflect on things in my past. I lay there and I'll kind of ruminate at times, and I hope that's not you, but if it's you, you really can't. And I want you to think about sometimes when you're doing that, what are those things that come up in your past that you've been forgiven for? If you're Christians and you've prayed for forgiveness and you've prayed for that to be passed, and God has healed you from that and saved you from that, we know that he's allowed those things from us. I mean, what are some of those things we just need to let go? Right? I got one that always haunts me and comes up on me, and it's generally in relationships, or somebody that you wronged, or somebody you wronged and you didn't mean to wrong them, but it definitely wronged them, and and so mine come up. Like I think about sometimes where I'm not as nice. I'm not as there, there's a piece that comes out of me sometimes under stress, or it's this competitive side of me. And if you've read my books, you know that I have that. And I will tell you in one hand that that shapes me. And the other hand, I will tell you that it just drives me crazy. And I have said things to people in an aggressive way. I'm 58 years old in my lifetime that I wish I wouldn't have said. Mean things. And I don't mean not often, but I mean it's happened. You know, I've even said them to my children, like, you know, what are you thinking of? What's wrong with you? Right? What would compel you to do such a thing like that? Right? And I'm not going to be specific, but I have in my anger, you know, I have. And so, you know, sometimes I look at my children and I go back and I remember one time flicking one of my daughters in the mouth, and I felt horrible. It was the anger, it was the rage. She was older. She shouldn't have been saying what she was saying, but it was too close. It was too near her mouth. It was a flick. But at the end of the day, sometimes I'll go back to that. I'm like, why did I do that? Is it going to scar her for life? Is she going to remember that forever? Is it a good thing? You know, I mean, my dad used to hit me with a belt. I don't really tell him how grateful I am for it all the time, because I think one of them really probably, it doesn't matter, right? But I do go back there, and there's other things in my life that I go back to, and I'm like, man, why did I do that? Why did I say that? Why did I hurt her like that? Why did I think that way? Why did I choose that moment? Why did I, you know? So whatever those things are in your life right now, I want you to stop them. You know, I want you to write them down on a piece of paper, and I literally just pick one of them if you have to. Write it down on a piece of paper. And then I want you just to draw lines through it. And I want you to understand that, you know, we're not going to go back there anymore. We are not going to go back to sins that have been forgiven. Although we may have scars from some of those sins, although we may have created outcomes in this world because of those sins, right? We're not going to go back to them. We can't. Because what happens when we go back to sin like that, right, is depression, right? Or even defeat. I just want you to understand that this is our calling this morning. And so when the quote of Satchel Paige, the legendary baseball player, comes out, and he says, listen, man, don't look back. Something might be gaining on you. And the quote is something. And when you think about him doing it and saying it, it's amazing, because he's saying it about something, but he knows what that something is to him. Don't look back. Something may be catching you. It might be racism. It might be age. It might be poverty. It might be depression. It might be defeat. I don't know exactly what Satchel Paige was talking about when he said, don't look back. Something might be gaining on you. All I know is this was a man who went through more than most of us will ever experience in our life and outcome a winner. And all I know is when I tell the story about the little boy in the race and my father, he puts his hand down and he says, I want you to sprint and run to the finish line with everything you got. And he says, don't look back. Don't ever look back. Those words haunt me as I grow through life and business, spirituality, right? In personal growth. Those words haunt me in many, many ways, not in a bad way, but haunt me because I can hear those words echoing in my head. Don't look back, son. Don't you ever look back. Meaning that, you got to move forward. We've put you in a place to succeed. We've put you in a place to win. We put you in a place to do things. God, my father didn't use God, but he did say, God around the household once more. But I know that's what he's talking about. I know what Satchel was talking about, right? I know that he wants us in a place. I want us not to look back for many, many good reasons. Many. Don't look back, my friends. Satchel Paige told us don't look back because he had a lot of demons. He had a lot of things in this world pressing on him. He had a lot of strife. He had a lot of stress. He had a lot of pressure from the world. Over 5 decades in baseball, just to play maybe 7 years in the Major League Baseball, and to come back at the age of, I think, 65 and pitch 3 innings, no-hitter or something like that. It's just bizarre beyond me to think about anything like that in our life. But all I'm asking you right now is not to look back at sins, not a whole baseball career or a whole career of people pressing on you. But I want you to look back at your life and not look back at sins that you've already been forgiven. It's just a waste. There's no reason to go back there. There's no reason to live there. There's no reason to exist there because God told us that Christ came here, was born to save us. I want you to remember that verse because we're going to be using it for a long time now. Jesus Christ was born to save you. Jesus Christ was born of the Virgin Mary. We're going to be celebrating that the Advent season that we're in. He was born to save you. Literally, just look at yourself. Look at your hand right now. Look at your hand right now. I'm looking at my hand. Jesus Christ was born to save me. Right? Was born to save Satchel. Was born to save people. But don't look back because God was born to save us. And as we accepting him in our heart, we have been forgiven for sins of the past. So please, my friends, don't go back there. Don't go back there. In this year 2024, this is our commitment. I'm going to give you 4 things not to go back to. I'm going to give you 4 things to tell you how much I love you on and to understand that this one statement is going to stay with us for 2024. And I want you to understand and more. Jesus was born to save you. Literally born to save me. Save you. Man, don't look back. Have a great day.